On today's episode of Air Capital Hot Rods Garage, we're taking a break from the Chevelle and working on the Silverado. Like I said, we're going to be working on my 2006 Chevy Silverado. This is pretty much my daily driver, and it has 197,000 miles on it. So, a little bit high mileage, but it's actually in really good shape. There's no rust on it, and it runs fine. So, but it does have 197,000 miles on it. So there are a couple of things that need some attention. The biggest one is right now it has a little bit of a coolant leak. And so that's the primary thing that we're going to take a look at today. Then after we get the coolant fixed, we have a couple more things that we want to fix on this also. And one of them is we're going to repaint it. So the Silverado, it has the 5.3 liter in it. Stock, even the stock air box. Coolant leak, it's leaking towards the back, so I'm thinking it's either one of these coolant hoses or there's coolant vent holes in the heads, and up front there's the crossover and the hose that returns back to the radiator. In the back there's just plugs, and I'm wondering if one of those are leaking. That's my suspicion, but I don't know yet. Like I said, it doesn't have any rust on it, and the paint, from 10 feet, 20 feet looks pretty good. But when you get up here close, see that it has some heavy scratches, and they filled it in with paint, and it just doesn't look great. And then they must have lived on a gravel road, so like this is all just chipped along here. So I'm gonna work on painting it, and just everywhere. And maybe that looks like maybe it's been repainted already once. So, but the bed, I might put a spray and bed liner in it. Don't know. On the interior, there's several light bulbs that are burnt out. My gauge cluster. Some of those lights don't work, or not work very well. So like the light over here is really dim, and my oil pressure gauge, it just stays there, maxed out. So I have really good oil pressure, but obviously it's not accurate. So what I think I'm going to do is actually send this out to get fixed. I replaced some of this stuff before, trying to fix the oil pressure gauge. That didn't work. I've also replaced the sitting unit on the engine, so I don't know what the deal is. And then I got like the lights here on the stereo don't work. I don't have any rear speakers, it's just the front one, so I'm going to install some rear speakers and just a bunch of little things that are minor, but those minor things have added up to where they're kind of getting annoying, and so I'm just gonna spend some money and attention on it. Also, when I got the truck, it had like 180,000 miles on it, and I pretty much rebuilt part of the steering, new ball joints, inner and outer tie rods, pitman arm, the idler arm over there, and there's still some slop in the steering. So I'm gonna investigate some more, but I might end up replacing the gearbox as well. So, but tonight's project is to find this coolant leak. So let's get started. All right, boys and girls, I got the belt changed out, and somewhere along the line when I was changing that out or checking for leaks, I think I found it. So I took off the belly pans. This is four-wheel drive, so there's a plastic pan or shroud and then an aluminum pan, and I think that was kind of hindering me to find this. So I think what was happening is the water pump was leaking and it was hitting that belly pan, and then since my driveway sloped, it was running to the back of the engine. So, but the other day I felt water on the underside of the water pump there. So Got a new water pump, and I went ahead and got a new thermostat, and so we're going to change that out real quick. It's not terribly exciting, so I'm going to speed it up just a bit. First up, take the air box off. Next step is to take the belt off. Alright, next step is to drain the radiator and remove the hoses. So I removed the cap over here from my fill bottle. I'm going to take off the lower radiator hose to drain it. I got a big one of those tubs you get for Christmas decorations and junk down under there. I cut it off so it's shorter to fit under there. Hopefully I'll catch most of it. This is always a big mess. So we've got to take off the lower radiator hose, the two hoses that go to the heater, and then the upper radiator hose. And then we should be ready to pull that water pump off. And my water is currently warm. Not hot, not cold. Shouldn't burn me, but definitely don't do this if it's hot. And try to be a good steward and not leak all this all over the world. All right, once you have the hoses all disconnected from the water pump, so you got your upper hose there, your lower hose from the radiator there, and then your two heater hoses there. You can go ahead and remove the water pump. There's 1, 2, 3 bolts there, and then over here there's 1, 2, and there's a third bolt there. So 6 bolts altogether. So it should just slide right off. It's really easy. Just like that, water pump is out. Right. So here's our old water pump. There's a new water pump in the bag. You got to move that pulley over to the new one, and over to the new one right there. And since I'm in here, I went ahead and got a new thermostat, as well as a lower radiator hose. I've already replaced the upper radiator hose shortly after I got the truck. So fairly simple swap over. Alright, got that stuff installed, the thermostat and the belt tensioner or pulley. Over here, got to remove 2 gaskets and then put it back on. These are really simple to install. Next step is to reinstall all of your hoses. All right, and now the air box. All right, we pretty much have everything changed out now. We need to put in some additional coolant. The way I like to do it to fill the engine block is to pour it down this hose, your upper radiator hose, and then run the engine. One thing I've ran into with new engine builds, I don't know if it would necessarily be with this one, since the radiator's partially full, the engine block's partially full. But if you just sit there and let them idle, sometimes they won't bleed out the air. So if you rev them a little bit, there's actually a bypass in the water pump or the thermostat that will open up and let the air bubbles come out. So if your engine's just idling there and you're trying to bleed the air system and get the coolant system going, give it some revs, like 3,000 RPMs and stuff, get that going, and that might help you out. But we're going to fill this up. Alright guys, that wraps up this project on the Silverado. If you like this project and want to see more of the work on the Silverado, kind of the restoration of a 2006, make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to get a little bit more work to do on this truck, like I said, including painting it. I got to finish my paint booth, which I'll leave a link up here, so that you can see the first part of the paint booth. I got to finish it up, and then we're going to paint this. It'll be my first paint job. It's kind of a practice paint job, so that I can then jump onto the Chevelle and do the body work and paint work on that. So like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.